This is once again Hariva Prasad Damarla, a retired Deputy GM from BSNL and ex-adjunct professor, ECE Department, PSCMR College of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. In this session, we will continue our discussion on signaling systems. This is the part 3 in series on signaling systems pertaining to telecom networks. In this session, we will try to understand the standards of CCITT as far as signaling systems are concerned. As you can see in the diagram, the CCITT signaling is of two types. One is in-channel signaling, the other one is common channel signaling. Further, the in-channel signaling is classified into 6 variants. That is signaling system 1, signaling system 2, signaling system 3, signaling system 4, signaling system 5, and signaling system 5 bis. On the other hand, the common channel signaling is of two types. It is signaling system 6 and signaling system 7. Let us go through the contents of the slide and further we will try to understand about the CCITT standards. Most of the present day telephone networks are equipped with in-channel signaling systems. However, that networks will gradually evolve to CCS. So everything I have put under red color and also I have striked off some portion. And they say it already evolved. So as a matter of fact, but for academic interest, so CCS signaling, that is in-channel signaling, is not at all working in the telecom industry. They are all outdated. So now the only dominant and present day signaling system is common channel signaling. However, academic point of view, we will try to understand a little bit about in-channel signaling. At the international level, signaling standards are specified by the CCITT, or also known as ITU. CCITT stands for Consultative Committee for International Telegraph and Telecom. This is the old name of this organization, and the present name is ITU, International Telecom Union, where nearly 190 countries are members of this committee, and all these countries, for that matter, some of the non-member countries also, they follow the standards and specifications and guidelines issued by the CCITT or the ITU. So far, 7 international standards known as Signal System Number 127, that is SS1 to SS7, have been adopted. There is also a variation of SS5 known as SS5 bis. In SS5, we have two variants. One is the SS5 itself, the other one is SS5 bis. So we will try to, although it is an outdated technology, in academic aspect, we will try to understand something about SS5 and SS5 bis. In addition to these SS1 to SS5 bis, So we have two regional standards. Region-wise also some standards are there. North America, they have one standard known as R1. Similarly, Europeans, they have one standards that is R2, regional standard or regional signaling system 2, R2. So these signaling systems R1, R2 also adopted by the CCITT. They have also agreed with these standards, which are a little bit variant with reference to SS1 to SS5 BIS. The signaling systems SS1 to SS5 deal with in-channel signaling. As already we discussed, all these things SS1 to SS5 BIS, they deal with in-channel signaling, which we have already studied and further we will study in the ensuing slides. The systems SS6 and SS7 are common channel signaling systems. So as depicted in this drawing, so SS6 and SS7, they fall under the category of common channel signaling of CCIT standards. Let us continue our discussion on in-channel signaling of CCITT. The range of CCITT specified in-channel signaling systems reflects the evolution of international signaling requirements to meet the continually changing conditions of international networks. As the international networks are evolving, improving over a period, the signaling systems requirement also slowly changed from SS1 to SS5 BIS. The early systems, that is SS1, SS2, SS3 and SS4 are of historical interest only. We don't discuss much about. These are all very, very outdated systems. Though CCS 6 and 7 are only the main signaling standards at present in vogue. So we will discuss about the other systems to some extent. At present, interest in the international in-channel signaling is confined to SS5 and SS5 BIS. So we will confine our discussion to SS5 and SS5 BIS and regional systems like R1, R2. R1 pertaining to North America and R2 pertaining to European countries. The other signaling systems of interest is the PCM signaling. Another important signaling system is PCM signaling, which we will study in our subsequent lectures. As a matter of fact, CCS7, that is signaling system 7, is the only signaling system that is extensively used in the modern telecom network. So CSS7 only is the system at present in vogue as far as the telecom networks are concerned. However, academic point of view, we will try to understand a little bit about SS5 and SS6 also. Salient features of CCITT signaling. First, we will try to understand the salient features about CCIT signaling. Inter-register signaling carrying address information would be very, very slow if continuous signaling is adopted. So if you adopt a continuous process of signaling, so the inter-registered signaling is very, very slow, which carries the address information, the source to destination information, or the number to be dialed by the calling party or the number of the called party. Also, signaling is preferred here. Two different techniques are used to maintain trunk channel association during the signaling period. So, pulse signaling is the preferred one. In this also, there are two variants. The address information is transmitted en block after gathering all the address digits. This is one type, en block method. Here, I have given one example. If you want to dial my telephone number in Vijayawada, which is 249959, so you will dial the subscriber, the calling party will dial my number 2499959. So what happened? The signaling mechanism accumulates all the 7 digits pertaining to me and it transmits as a single block. All the 7 digits are transmitted in a single stroke. That's why it is known as en block signaling. Then the other one is, so they will be transmitted digit after digit as they arrive. Let us go through the contents. Address digits are transmitted as and when they arrive, and lock tone is transmitted during the interdigit gaps. So here in this non-en block method or lock tone method, so what they will do, as soon as the calling party is dialing for my number, the moment he dials 2 is transmitted to the system, indicating that this is the first number I want. Then 4 will be transmitted. Then 9, the system will receive signal or digit number 9 and it will be transmitted as 9. Next 9, 9. Next 9, 9. Then 5. So 5 will be received and it will be transmitted as 5. And final 9, that is the 7th digit as far as Vijayawada numbers are concerned, we have 7 digits. So 9 is transmitted. So further we will try to understand. Here what we are doing, digit by digit, as and when they are received from the calling party, they are received and transmitted as soon as they are received. So they will not be accumulated till all the 7 digits are dialed, unlike the first case, that is en block method. Salient features of CCIT signaling, and we are going to discuss something about SS5 and SS5 bis. The SS5 adopts en block transmission scheme, whereas SS5 bis uses the lock tone method. So as we have discussed in the earlier slide, so SS5 adopts en block. That means all the digits are received and transmitted in a single stroke. But in SS5 bis, lock tone method is adopted. That means the digits as they are received, they are also transmitted in the network. Then both got its own merits and demerits. So we will look into some more information about this en block method or the lock tone method. So let us go through the contents. The en block method facilitates checking of the validity of the address of the digit count and avoids expensive international circuits being ineffectively used during incomplete dialing. What does it mean? It means if anybody is dialing internationally, maybe somebody is dialing my number from the US. So first he will dial the STD code of India. So he has to dial 91 is the STD code for India. Then he has to reach Vijayawada. The STD code for Vijayawada is 866. Then he has to dial my number. So I have taken the example, my number 249959. So here in the en bloc method, till all the digits, that is 91, 866, 24, 999 are dialed, and all the numbers as per the numbering plan are received by the system. So it will not use the international circuits. So suppose if anybody dials one number less, in case of my number, instead of 7 digits, somebody dials by mistake 6 digits only, then it will not be transmitted. It will count the number of the digits applicable to my number. So they have to dial, after Vijayawada STD code, they have to dial 7 digits, 249959. If somebody dials only 6 digits, maybe missing anywhere in between or in the end or in the beginning. So it will not be transmitted. That means we are not wasting the international circuits, its availability. So pre-check is there, whether it is a valid number or not. Then only it will be transmitted. That is as far as the en bloc method is concerned. So there is a checking facility about the validity of the called party's number. However, this method increases the post-dialing delay because the digits are accumulated before the signaling begins. So the other aspect, the negative aspect of this en bloc method is the system has to wait till all the digits are dialed. Then only all the digits are sent en bloc. So there is a delay between the user, the calling party dialing the number, and the called party, it is switched over to the called party. So there is a time gap when compared to this lock tone method. So there is a delay in signaling. Otherwise, it effectively uses the international circuits. There is no wastage of the time of the international circuits. The lock tone method permits overlapped operation of digits being received and transmitted. In the lock tone method, they will not wait for whether they have dialed all the numbers or not. As and when a digit is received, it is transmitted on the network. It reduces the post-dialing delay. Therefore, naturally, it reduces the post-dialing. The moment the last digit is dialed, so it will switch over to the called party's number. The trunk, however, is not used as effectively as in the case of en bloc transmission. So when compared to the en bloc transmission, the usage of the trunk is not as efficient as in en bloc as far as the lock tone method is concerned. Why? Because if somebody dials my number, only 6 digits, so you are using the international circuit till the 6 digits are dialed, then only you come to know, so it is not the correct number to be dialed. So then the call will be rejected. But before that, for now you take the same example, US to my number, so you will dial the international STD code of India 91866 249959 minus one number. So for all these digits to be sent on the network, so the international trunk circuit is used, and finally it comes to know there is a shortage of digit and switching cannot take place to the called party. So here we are wasting the international trunk circuit time. So this is another negative aspect as far as the lock tone method is concerned. So both got its own merits and demerits. In en bloc method, so advanced validation is carried out. but there is a post-delay dialing. In case of lockdown method, there is no post-delay dialing, but in case of improper dialing, the trunk circuit time is wasted. Further, we will continue about our SS5 signaling. The signaling system number SS5, signaling system 5, is a multi-frequency telephone signaling system. So it is a MF-based signaling system that was in use from 1970s for international direct distance dialing, IDD, international direct distance dialing, or ISTD, international subscriber dialing. Internationally, it was known as CCITT5 or SS5. So first it is a multi-frequency dialing system, and it is used during 1970s for the first time. It is for IDD or ISTD, whatever you call it. So internationally, its name is CCIT5 or SS5, signaling system 5. It was also nicknamed as Atlantic code because it was first used for international direct distance dialing connections between Europe and North America. So its nickname is Atlantic code. Why it is known as Atlantic code? So first it was used for direct dialing, direct international dialing between Europe and North America. So if it is for Europe and North America, why it should be called as Atlantic code? The reason is very simple. Europe and North America are separated by Atlantic Ocean. So that is why it is known as Atlantic code. Because of the separation by Atlantic Ocean, both the Europe and North America, it is popularly or nicknamed as Atlantic code. Signaling systems for telephone traffic used to be designed for in-band signaling, which means they use the same channel as the media that they control. So since it is in-band signaling, both the speech and signal, they follow the same path or the same media. SS5 was designed for intercontinental traffic, for which many transmission paths were long terrestrial links, often submarine cables and geostationary satellite links. So since SS5 was originally designed for intercontinental trunk circuits, so it involves so many stages. So somebody is dialing, say from California to somewhere, like Vijayawada. So he has to come from California, has to reach the international switching center in the US. From international switching center US to, it has to reach the international switching center in Delhi or some other international centers of India like Bombay, Calcutta, Chennai. They have to reach one of the international centers. From there, it has to go to the state level center. From there, it has to go to the SDCC, and from there it has to go to the designated exchange. So as far as the international connectivity is concerned, so there may be so many, more than one single path, different paths may be there. So the trunks are based on submarine cables, like the present day fiber optic submarine cables, or it may be satellite links. Of course, in the present scenario, as you speak today, so for all practical purpose, we are using fiber optic undersea cables only for intercontinental traffic. Then under SS5 signaling, we will try to understand a little bit about regional system R1. As we already told that we will discuss something about R1 also. So R1 is pertaining to North America. That's what we can remember. Trunks using satellite links, also equipped with echo suppressors connected at their endpoints. SS5 was specifically designed to work on satellite links with echo suppressors. So, in our earlier lessons, lectures, for satellite links, echo suppressors are required because the distance the signal has to travel is at least 36,000 kilometers plus 36,000 kilometers, that is 72,000 kilometers in case of satellite links. So there is a time delay. So there is an echo. So to suppress the echo, we adopt the echo suppressors to reduce the time delay or to reduce the echo. Echo suppressors are to be deployed. So SS5 signaling is designed to work with satellite links or communication with the help of echo suppressors. Based on this concept, the Bell system developed a multi-frequency MF signaling system and was known by the CCITT as Regional System R1. It used 6 signaling frequencies. So, based on this concept of SS5 with echo suppressors, the Bell system has developed a multi-frequency signaling, and it is designated by the CCIT, Consultative Committee for International Telegraph and Telecom, as Regional System R1. So here the number of frequencies used for signaling is 6 frequencies. The 6 frequencies are given below. The frequency number A, 700 Hz, frequency B, 900 Hz, there is suppression of 200 Hz, and frequency C, or rather to say the frequency C, 3, that is 1100, another 200 Hz difference. So frequency D, 1300 Hz, so 200 Hz difference. Then frequency E, that is 1500, another 200 Hz more than D. And the 6th frequency or the F frequency is 1700, which is 200 Hz more than the E. So what we have to notice is the signaling frequencies, they start from 700 Hz and end at 1700 Hz, and all are separated by equally by 200 Hz. The first five frequencies were used in a 2 out of 5 code method to represent decimal numbers, and the last frequency 1700 Hz in combination with one of the others, either A, B, C, D, E, is represented for the beginning or the end of the signaling digits. So for dialing the digits, we use 1 out of the 5. That means up to E we use the frequencies. So say for example for digit 1, if I want to dial, if I am dialing through my push button phone, digit 1, so it may send frequency A and B on the network. So like this, for digit 2, it may be 900 plus 1100 and so on. So we will list out in the next slide what are the frequencies for different digits. So for dialing digits from 1 to 0 or 0 to 1, whatever you call it, generally in telecom, we will take from digit 1 to digit 9, then finally digit 0. So these 5 frequencies as a combination of two frequencies are used for dialing all the 10 digits, that is 1 to 9 and digit 0. The F frequency 1700 in combination with either A, either B, either C, either D or E is used for the beginning and end of the sequence of the digits. So we have to indicate the system when we have started the dialing the digits, when we have stopped dialing the digits for processing the signaling information. So let us go through the contents in the next slide. Now, in the regional system R1, so the combination for digits. So if you want to dial digit, so the frequencies 700, that is designated as A, and frequency 900B is sent on the network. Suppose if you send the combination of frequency A and C, so that means it will transmit 700 and 1100. A and C, C is 1100. So this represents digit 2. Like this, B and C, they represent 900 and 1100, which will be sent on the line. So it represents digit 3. A and D, which represent 700 Hz and 1300 Hz. So that is equivalent to digit number 4. B and D, that is 900 Hz and 1300 Hz. They represent digit 5. C and D, 1100 and 1300 Hz. So representing digit number 6. So that means if you dial digit 6, so C and D are sent on the line. That means 1100 Hz and 1300 Hz are sent on the line. So similarly, A to E, 700 and 1500 representing digit 7. B and E, 900 and 1500 representing 8. C and E, so for digit 9 representing 1100 Hz and 1500 Hz. D and E for digit 0, that is with the help of the frequency 1300 Hz and 1500 Hz. Further we will continue. So far we have discussed only about the digits 1 to 0, all the 10 digits, what are all the frequencies that are sent on the line and what is the combination. Then we should also know the commencement and end and other combinations that we will discuss in the next slide. So A and F, they represent a code 11 or a prefix to reach any international operator in the country. So A and F are sent on the line. It indicates that the subscriber is to be connected to any international operator. It need not be confined to the same international operator, any international operator, one of the international operators. Suppose if B and F, B means 900, F means 1700. So they represent the code 12. So it is a prefix to reach an individual international operator in the country. So if you are a BSNL customer, so you will be taken to the international switching center of BSNL only. That is, if you prefix with 12, if the routing is programmed as 12, if the routing is programmed as 11, it may go to any one of the international operators. The BSNL subscriber need not go to BSNL International, but he can go to Reliance or he can go to Airtel or somebody else. So this is one example I can give you. Then other combination, C and F, that is 1100 and 1700 if I am correct. So it represents code 13, the keying prefix KP1, where the following digits do not contain country code. This indicates the subsequent digits does not contain country code, without country code. And other combination is D and F. That is, D is 1300 and F is 1700. So if these signals are sent on the line, it indicates keying prefix 2, KP2, where the following digits do contain international code. So that indicates, so subsequent numbers what we are dialing contains international code, international country code, that is like India 91 and US 1 and so on. Then the other combination E and F, that is 1500 Hz and 1700 Hz. If this combination is sent on the line, it indicates keying finish KF or end of keying. So further no dialing is there. So the dialing process has completed. So instructing register not to wait for any more digits. So it indicates the register in the network. So further digits will not come from the user or from the calling party, indicating the called party number. So the dialing process has been completed to indicate the system or the network. The dialing process of all the digits has been completed. So a code 15, that is E and F, that is 1500 and 1700, is transmitted on the network. Further, we will study about SS5 signaling. The 2 out of 6 frequencies code, just now what we have discussed. A combination of 2 frequencies from the available 6 frequencies, that is A, B, C, D, F, was used to pass digits forward between registers in traditional international switching centers. So we use 6 frequencies, that is A, B, C, D, E and F. So for passing the digits between 2 registers, between 2 exchanges, 2 networks. Then further, each digit took 5 milliseconds with 55 milliseconds inter-digit pause, and the sequence was sent en bloc to ensure that echo suppressors would not switch out the forward path, as the links tended often to be satellite links. So each digit is transmitted for a period of 55 milliseconds with an inter-digit gap of 55 milliseconds. So this is stipulated, and the network is so designed, even in case of satellite channels, the echo suppressor is not bypassed from the network. So the echo suppressors will be in line because we are following SS5 signaling with digit transmitting time of 55 milliseconds and inter-digit pause of 55 milliseconds, so that we ensure that echo suppressors are maintained or put in the circuit and they will not be bypassed, so that there will not be any issue as far as satellite channels are concerned. Since satellite channels requires echo suppressors to be in circuit. The first digit was a keying prefix, that is digit 13, to indicate the terminal or the transit network, and the last digit was the digit 15 or keying finish. So while starting, so it is digit 13 is sent. The first digit is digit 13, and the last digit indicating the completion of the dialing is this frequency, that is E digit 15, keying prefix. Okay, this is how it is indicated about the commencement and completion of the dialing the digits. 13 is sent on the line to indicate that we are dialing the number of the called party. After completion, the digit 15, that is keying prefix, keying finish digit 13 is to be sent on the line, indicating that further digits will not come from the calling party and it is to be processed with the available digits. So let us sum up what we have discussed so far. We have seen the CCIT signaling standards. We also understood CCIT is an international organization with present name of ITU, which gives the specification, prescribes the specifications, standards, and procedures for all the member countries to follow the uniform standards so that there will not be mismatch for international working. Then we have seen about the in-channel signaling variants like SS1, SS2, SS3, SS4, SS5, and SS5Bs. Of course, we did not discuss anything about either SS1, SS2, SS3, SS4 because they are very much outdated. For that matter, SS5 and SS5 is also outdated. As an academic point of view, we are trying to understand. Yes, we understood something about SS5 and SS5 bis. Then we have seen the difference between SS5 and SS5 bis. One is n-block dialing, the other one is lockdown method. Then we have seen the variants in common channel signaling, that is SS6 and SS7. Of course, we have not so far discussed in detail about SS6 and SS7. Only we understood in common CCS we have two variants. One is SS6 and SS7. Then we have discussed something about the Bell Lab system, that is regional signaling system R1. So where totally six frequencies are deployed. So for each digit, we use one of the two frequencies, including keying commencement and keying completion. The prefix, keying prefix 2, and keying prefix end also we have discussed. So these are the points what we have discussed. Subsequent information we will discuss in our next session. So this is my YouTube channel. So youtube.com/c/Harivaprasad Damarla. So if you like my video, please subscribe to my channel and also give an encouraging comment, or if you have any doubts, you can also raise your doubts in the comments box, which I can answer to the best of my ability. So please get benefited by watching my videos. Thank you. Thank you very much.